Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Okay, how many of you are going home with more money than you came with? Come on, anyone? Well, we're going to give you something almost as good. If you stay for the entire session, when you leave, we have this volume that Ixchel and I have put together, and it is a little blast from your past, I'm sure, from library school, Reordering Ranganathan. And no one's happier to be giving this to you today than Ixchel and me. This has been in process for 18 months. And what we have done is try to pull together the user behavior research that we have done, and we've also tried to pull together some of the research that others have done. This is not inclusive of user behavior research because I would be retiring before we would ever get this out. And so what we thought that this was a great way for us to reframe how we're looking at our research in this area. I don't have to tell any of you how things have changed, and the library is not the first or only place to go. So it's not the only place in town. And often we have to entice people and engage them to actually come in to use our services, whether in the physical environment or in the virtual environment. Also in this day and age, we as librarians are responsible for not only pulling in external information and publications, but taking our internal publications and work and making that publicly available. So bringing in what the academic community has done and pushing that out externally. Now, we'll go over Ranganathan's 5 laws of library science. Books are for use. Every person his or her book. Every book its reader. Save the time of the reader. And the library is a growing organism. Now, Ranganathan developed these in 1931. He was a big fan of Dewey. Unfortunately, he never got to meet Melville Dewey because Dewey died before they ever could link up. One of the things that I thought about, Eric's questioning this. Look it up. All you librarians, Google it. And anyway, Ranganathan was really looking at the services of the library. And when I started thinking about the work we were doing, Ixchel and I and some of our colleagues in research, and I started thinking about how does this hang together? How can we frame this? How can we make this a collective body of work? And I came back to Ranganathan. However, when we reviewed these laws of library and information science, we thought maybe they could be tweaked a bit and just maybe reworded. And of course, anyone who knows me, I have to reinvent things sometimes. And so we decided to reorganize them. And I'm sure Ranganathan would approve of this. So as far as save the time of the reader, our interpretation is embed library systems and services into users' existing workflows. And so that was Law 4, and we moved it up to Law 1. Because we think in today's environment that saving the time of the reader is one of the most important things. Why? Well, with the research we've done, we've learned that convenience trumps all. And there are a lot of things available for individuals to access and use. And what's convenient at that moment, based on that context and situation, is what they're going to use. What we've also learned is that many people who are using virtual reference services are actually sitting in the library. But they're using virtual services. Why? Because it's more convenient. I don't want to stand up and leave my seat. I don't want to leave my laptop or my smartphone sitting there. Or maybe I don't want to talk to that person behind the desk because that person doesn't look so friendly. So there are lots of reasons why individuals use different modes of communication and use different ways of accessing information. The second law is every person his or her book. And we're looking at that as know your community and its needs. And that can be your academic community, which we've been focusing on, but it can be any community. Books are for use. Develop the physical and technical infrastructure needed to deliver physical and digital materials. And every book its reader, we feel this means increase the discoverability, access, and use of resources within users' existing workflows. And I think that's what this is all about, engagement and becoming a part of the user's workflows. We cannot change them as we used to think we could. We need to change to meet their needs. And the final one, a library is a growing organism. That one we think overlays all of these other laws. Embed library systems and services into the user's existing workflows. Well, that's our number one, which I said was number 4. Again, it's the scarcity of time and attention, a multitude of information providers, and we see this as a lens through which we can interpret the other laws and also a way, again, to structure the research. And I think we also need to remember that convenience that's based upon context and situation. I'm going to turn it over to Ixchel now.
So good morning. I wanted to start with know your community and its needs. And this represents our interpretation, as Lynn said, of Law 2, every person, his or her book. It's about connecting every user to the precise content they need, be it from a library collection, a collective collection, or the web. In today's environment, given e-content, opportunities with research data, and a diverse landscape of users from a variety of generations and different approaches to information seeking, we try to extend our interpretation beyond current known users to the non-users, those who visit the library in person to those who are online, those in the local community as well as those that are worldwide. What we're doing is encouraging folks to become fully cognizant of how the library community uses library systems and views library services across a wide range of audiences and demographics. Our interpretation of books are for use. We're focusing here on the physical and technical infrastructure. While books are still the brand of the library, libraries are moving beyond books to access various kinds of content and provide various kinds of services. And all of this requires infrastructure, right? Not just the physical, but the technical. And then also just thinking about the social environment both of those things sit in. And this infrastructure has to be built for access and engagement. So whether it's a learning commons, whether it's maker spaces, whether it's institutional repositories, and the list goes on. As Herbert and Thuralt say in their end of semester revamp of physical space and activities to combat student stress, the message must be clear. The library is genuinely interested in student success and offers the personnel, space, technology, and services to achieve it. So increasing discoverability, access, and use of resources within users' existing workflows. This is about every book its reader. We talk about our interpretation with respect to 3 broad trends in an attempt to understand how to address getting that best, relevant, authoritative content into the hands of users. So it's about understanding the flow and workflow, understanding the what, the how, the who of the search, what we describe as the points in the workflow, and the relationship to one another, as well as how they're changing. It's about acknowledging the role of online social interaction, how it's used to help information seekers, to connect to what they need, whether it's about discovery of that content or evaluation of that content. What we know is that they turn to their peers, their colleagues, their bosses, because these are people in their lives, these are people that they see as experts, and these are people that typically have a hand in their success. It's also about providing more, or paying more attention, to context. specifically providing enough context within users' workflows to enable them to make decisions about that content. As Maria Popova says of content curators working in digital archives, there's a need to contextualize them within our existing framework of knowledge and our interests. We see a similar thing when we start thinking about the reuse of research data. So a library is a growing organism. We agree with that. There is no reinterpretation necessary. The prior chapters that were in that book kind of speak to that. But what we are suggesting is that we consider a new way in which the library can grow, beyond growing the collections, the staff, the users, the physical infrastructure. And that's about growing the library's share of attention. So we discussed growing share of attention in terms of the relevance of the services and the resources, the visibility of the libraries and the library resources, and the unique capabilities of librarians. And with that, I'll start to close with a small list of references that are available, but many more in the report, acknowledging the people listed here who have provided insightful contributions, valuable feedback, and support, as particularly around the design and layout, our funding folks, who we could not have done this research without, and most importantly, an announcement of our webinar next week on the 8th, because as researchers, we can't talk about research for just 10 minutes. So we're going to devote a whole hour to it. And there's also the link for that available. So that's 11 Eastern time. Thank you.